After 3 on the road, it's 3 at home as Edmonton offense gets a big boost from Zach Hyman. We get you set for the Oilers and the Blue Jackets on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Good evening, everybody. Tom Gazzola with you live from the EST Satellite Studios. Hernan Salas back at EST HQ. And our game analyst tonight, Joaquin Gage, will be joining us as well in about 8 minutes' time. As always, text on YouTube. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Be sure to get into the nasty chat. And, of course, the Oilers 13-10-2 taking on the 11-10-3 Columbus Blue Jackets. These Jackets absolutely decimated Edmonton back on October 28th in Columbus. And then the Oilers went on a nice little stretch. Actually, they've been playing pretty good hockey in the last little while. Edmonton coming off that 1-0 loss in Vegas on Tuesday night. And the Jackets also being shut out on Tuesday night. That game was in Calgary at the Saddle Dome. Obviously, a very, very emotional and heartwarming night for the Flames and obviously for Calgary. And then, Columbus, talking to some of their staff and those around. It was great. They appreciated it, but it was also very hard for them. And, they felt like they'd gone through those ceremonies a bunch of times, and they had one more, although it was really well done by the Flames. So a hat tip to the Calgary Flames and Columbus for what was a nice night in tribute to Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. Anyway, for the Jackets, they turn the page and they focus on the Edmonton Oilers tonight, and the Oilers looking to get back into the win column. All right. Before we get to the Latino Heat, I need to mention, too, that we'll hear from Steve Mears, Jackets play-by-play man. You might remember him from his time as the Pittsburgh Penguins play-by-play man. And before that, he was with NHL Network. I had a chance to catch up with Steve on the bench, and we'll be hearing his side of things when it comes to the Blue Jackets in a little bit. GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for 50 years. It's a good reminder to get that in there, because we want to say thank you to GCL Diesel and all of our proud partners here at EST. Let's bring in the Latino Heat, see how he's doing. Nancito, how we doing tonight, buddy?
What's shaking? What's shaking?
Oh, you have
Oilers,
decorations.
What's that?
You have decorations.
We do. It looks great, Tom. Absolutely fantastic.
That looked really good.
Very, very happy with the work done by YouTube Trev here today. So, yeah, it looks great. Everybody's in a festive mood, so it's good.
Very good. How do you look at this game, Hernan? Because we were laughing about Cass and I kind of getting into it on that goal that the Oilers allowed the other night. We bro hugged it out virtually, obviously. All is well between the two of us. Him and I have worked together forever, and you have worked with us forever too. But how have you kind of decompressed since that loss, and how are you looking at this game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they're coming off a good game. It's just unfortunate they couldn't find the back of the net. They should get a bump from getting Zach Hyman back, so
yes,
Oilers fans should be excited about that. I still want to see Skinner in the top 6, but for tonight, I'll let it go, and hopefully Kapanen can continue his solid play. Now, you need to contribute if you're going to stay there with healthy bodies coming back. But, Tom, it's an interesting matchup. Columbus can score. Top 10 in goals for. I think they have 31 goals in their last 7 games, Tom, and that's quite impressive. And that's even with a game where they were shut out, which was on Tuesday night. So this team can score. They're very similar to the Oilers in special teams. Not very good in either facet of it. So this might go to 5-on-5. So I'm a little concerned because we've seen this, and it's not just the Oilers. Every team that's coming off a road trip, the first game back at home is a little sloppy. Let's hope it's not, because we all know what happened that night in Columbus. McDavid went down, and the Oilers laid a complete egg. That night, Tommy, was a fired-up post-game show. I hope they don't have that kind of effort. And they shouldn't. I mean, Connor's getting honored pregame. You had the whole Mark Killam, Chris Knobloch, U of A thing today, which was awesome. It was pretty cool. Great to see the Oilers and Elks working together once again. We need more of that. But at the end of the day, this is a game they have to have, Tom. And I've said this all year. There's no more excuses. You need to come out with an effort, and you need to come out with the 2 points tonight.
I agree wholeheartedly. Edmonton looking to get back in the one column. Obviously, after that loss the other night, snapping a 3-game winning streak. Natso, do you have a question of the night ready to go?
I do.
You do? You want to fire it out there to get our listeners and viewers involved? And we want to get your feedback, so I'll pass it off to Hernan Salas for the question of the night. Latino Heat, take it away.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple one, and it's about the returning player, Zach Hyman. It's kind of a 2-part question. Are you okay with him jumping back right into the top line? And what are your expectations tonight of Zach Hyman, who before his injury, I thought he was playing well coming into his own, snake bitten, I think is the word, because at least he was getting the opportunities, Tommy, but they just weren't going in. So what are the expectations? And do you like that he's, put right into where his usual spot is, or would you have kept Kapanen in there and maybe kind of slow played him back in?
Expectation for him to help offensively, whether that's goals or assists, but certainly his knack around the net and in the offensive zone should help. His tenacity, I expect to see a lot of that. Maybe help muck an ugly goal, and those all count. And then the element of what line he's playing on, being thrust back onto the top line. I understand it. I said it on, the Oil Stream Wednesday that I wouldn't mind if they eased him back in and put him on like a second or third line and let Kapanen kind of do his thing. I suppose they feel like Kapanen, who has been all right, and he's going to be in a good spot tonight. Mm-hmm. But I didn't mind like the idea of letting Kapanen stay with McDavid. Now, I understand why you want to get Hyman back up there. There's intangibles that he brings to the table that McDavid can appreciate and works well off of. So I would have eased him back in. The fact that they're not doesn't really surprise me. But
where would you fit him in, though, Tom? Because we haven't seen Zach Hyman in the bottom 6 in a long, long time.
Well, I would have put him like on Draisaitl's line. Like, way so Connor Brown, you bump everyone else down, right? Like, get Connor Brown off of there and.
Okay, that makes
Hyman would have been a big time upgrade, obviously. So I guess put him on the second line. That's not like he's not going on to a ineffective line. He'd be going on to a really good line. But if it would be determined by if Kapanen was playing really well and scoring. I know he has 2 points in 4 games, but say he had a good night in Vegas and scored or whatever, or had a nice assist, then yeah, put Hyman on the second line for a game or two and see how it goes with Kapanen. Not the case. They got shut out. They're going to try to switch it up a little bit.
How long is the leash for Kapanen today, Tom? And I'm not saying this is all based on him, but let's say the Oilers are down or they need a goal. That line's not going. Do you think we see a quick swap, maybe Connor Brown, who was playing there, or even Jeff Skinner?
Or I'll even say if they need to shorten the bench, like Adam Henrique.
Yeah.
You really minimize the bench and you get a Henrique or somebody. But it's not like Henrique's been letting it up this year at all. Hell, Jeff Skinner, for crying out loud. So yeah, depending on how Kapanen's playing, like if he's playing and generating offense and creating, then he would get the tap to go out there late in the game if they're looking for a goal. But I guess he kind of dictates how things go. Penalties will certainly, play a big factor in that as well. And we'll see if he could continue to play well. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's really touch and go with Kapanen and where he kind of winds up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, and we talked about it with Gager on EST Afternoons, where he's getting this is a hell of an opportunity.
Yeah, good point.
From McDavid to the Draisaitl line. I mean, this guy's he's raring to go and wants to make it work. Yep. But it's going to be interesting if he can, because I'm going to stick the same way you're sticking by your guns, Tom, and talking about Pod Colson's on a top 6. I've said it since they claimed him off waivers. He won't be here by Christmas, and that's Kasperi Cap. I hope he is, because that means he's playing super well, and I really liked his game last game. So this is not Hernan hating on Kasperi Kapanen, but I'm just saying when Arvidsson comes back, someone's got to get out of the lineup.
Just another mainstream media trying to run a guy out of town already.
That damn Hernan.
I know. Okay, let's get to starting lineups and starting goalies and injuries as the Oilers and Blue Jackets close out the season series this year. You heard us talking about it McDavid with Hyman making his return, missing 5 games. He'll be on the right side of McDavid and Nugent Hopkins, top line there. And then the second line, Leon Draisaitl with Vasily Podkolzin and Kasperi Kapanen, who Hernan says will be gone by December 24th. I'm kidding, Hernan. I'm glad you laughed there.
It's all good.
Adam Henrique with Janmark and Skinner. Derek Ryan between Corey Perry and Connor Brown. 3 righties on the fourth line tonight. On defense for the Oilers, Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse with Stetcher, Kulak with Emerson, no Dermott tonight. As for the Columbus Blue Jackets, this is what we're anticipating. Sean Monahan between Dmitry Voronkov and Kirill Marchenko. Adam Fantelli centering Cole Sillinger and Kent Johnson. Justin Danforth, hello, between Zach Aston Reese and Matthew Olivier, who's having a pretty solid year. Then Sean Corelli with Mikhail Pithia and Kevin LeBanc. Zach Werenski with Dante Fabro. Ivan Provorov with Damon Severson. Jake Christensen with Jordan Harris on the back end for the Jackets. Your starting goalies tonight, 32-year-old Calvin Pickard for the Oilers, 5-3 this season, 250 goals against average, 895 save percentage in 9 games this year. Lifetime versus Columbus, Pickard has a 2-3-1 mark with the 298 goals against average and 885 save percentage in 6 appearances against the Jackets. And then at the other end of the rink, it's going to be 25-year-old Daniel Tarasov. He's 8-3-4 this year. He has a 404 GA, 861 save percentage. Oh, boy, I didn't update Tarasov. Let's go to his stats. Oh, boy, my bad.
Uh-oh.
Tarasov, I've got it right here. He's 3-4-1 this year in 8 games played with a 404 and an 861. I knew I messed up something. I put his games played where his wins should be. His lifetime mark versus the Oilers, 1-0 in the lone appearance. He's faced them, 2.0 goals against average, 936 save percentage for Tarasov, who will be in goal for Columbus tonight while facing the Edmonton Oilers. All right, let's get to the Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy injury report, where at Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, they treat you like the pros. Multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, we treat you like a pro using the same locker room approach trusted by the best in the game. For the Oilers, on IR, Victor Arvidsson, undisclosed. Word is he's been skating around, but I haven't gotten confirmation. But maybe a good sign. No timetable for his return, apparently, according to Chris Knobloch. Vander Kane, IR, abdominal surgery. As for the Blue Jackets, Boone Jenner, their captain, he's on IR, upper body issue. And then Eric Goodbranson on IR, shoulder. Yegor Chinikov, day-to-day upper body, and that is your Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy injury report. All right, Hernan, fire out the question of the night one more time, and then we'll bring in our game analyst, Joaquin Gage, and Gager can give his thoughts on the question of the night.
Expectations for Zach Hyman tonight, who returns from injuries. I think he missed 5 games, and are you okay with him jumping right into the top line? Or would you would like to see kind of a slow play for Zach Hyman in his first game back? So that is the question of the night here on the Oil Stream pregame show.
Text us 780-218-9999 and get in the nasty chat in regard to the question of the night. Let's bring in our game analyst, Joaquin Gage. He is ready to go. He is all Red Bulled up. Very excited for the last race. It's the last race of the year, right, Gager? Coming up.
Good
thank
for
you
you
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for filling in for Cass. We appreciate that so very much.
I'm just here so I won't get fined, buddy.
Okay, Marshawn Lynch, I'll get you some Skittles. Gager, what would you say to the question of the night? Expectation for Zach Hyman, and then the other part of it is, are you surprised, or what do you think of him making the return on the top line? Because that is point number 1 of Game Changers. Hyman returns.
Hernan and I went into this today on our show. Just the fact that we compared Hyman coming back, the same thing with Trey Ford that happened this year, right? So I don't think you should lose your position because of an injury. Even I mean, I guess in a certain circumstances, if someone is just shooting the lights out, but no one that went into that spot did that, right?
Right.
So I'm fine with it. And, Tom, again, Hernan and I were talking about this. When you see a team as a player sitting out have success, there's a little bit of added pressure on you. And I know Zach Hyman's he's a seasoned NHL veteran, but it doesn't matter if you're 20 or 28. If you see someone go into your position and have success, that kind of lights the fire under you, right? So, and I think there was a little bit of that with what Zach Hyman saw just being in the press box. And I also thought that him being in the press box was probably a good thing for Zach Hyman. And really, if you think about it, it was probably one of the reasons he went on the trip in the first place. He knew he wasn't going to play in the first two games, probably the third game. He got the bird's eye view from the press box. Tommy, when you're up there, you can kind of see plays develop before they happen because you're so high up. So maybe it helped Zach Hyman just to get a little bit more perspective of where he's situated on the ice and things like that. Because when you're ice level, things happen so fast. So maybe it's sometimes it's, I have a little bit more time here probably, and I have to hurry up my decision making in other places. So I would fully expect a pretty good performance from Zach Hyman, just with the fire lit under him a little bit, and the fact that he's been able to view the games from a different perspective that he's probably hasn't had to do in a number of years.
And Tommy and Gage are like, it's also like I agree with everything Gage said, but it's also like a good reset for a guy who's hasn't had the start he's wanted, right? He was a lock to make Team Canada. He didn't make the team due to his play and probably injury. I think it's just watching and seeing from afar, like Gager alluded to, is key. Seeing guys step up in his position is also key. But how about just a reset? Like, get the mind right again. Say, I'm going to go have a better second half of the season, even though second half of the first half of the season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would even add, and I'd throw it at Joaquin, the relief of just knowing it's tough that he's not going to be on the Team Canada roster, but just knowing what he's going to be able to do schedule-wise during that, 8 to 10 days in February. Is there some mental relief there to kind of further what Nanso was saying as well, Gager?
I don't think so. Not with that tournament. I mean, Zach Hyman's been hearing for the past 6 months that he's probably going to be playing with Connor McDavid on Team Canada. I mean, we would have told him that all summer long. And the fact that with the slow start, the injury probably really hindered his chances to maybe be in the conversation of getting that team. And I said today, just it's fuel for guys like this. There's a few guys that have been snubbed on the Edmonton Oilers lineup that, again, they've probably been told that there's a really good shot that you might play in this thing, and it's been in the back of their minds. Now they know it's not a possibility, but the Olympics are right around the corner too, right? And you have to stay in the moment as a hockey player, but it's so difficult to not let things wander into your mind. Like, I work with Hernan, it's exhausting trying to keep him focused most of the time, but it's a little bit of an audition. And you said reset, Tom. I love that kind of, and Hernan, you like that kind of mindset, just to, okay, let's start again. Let's go at this again. And if it happens, it happens, but let's get my own game on track. Let's get the team rolling and let the cards fall where they may next year.
All right. There's point number 1 on Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Hyman's return, number 2, with Joaquin Gage in for Matt Cassian. Tonight, special teams. Oh, Gager, they are not so special.
No, they're not in large sample sizes, right? So, I mean, when you look at the Oilers, the PK has been a point of contention, but it's been a lot better recently. The power play still has some work to do, but on the other side of the coin, same with the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? So, and it's kind of interesting. I want to see how this unfolds tonight, because you go from a game with 0 penalties, and now I think I'll wager that we'll probably see a penalty within the first 3 minutes here, and one of these teams is going to have to kill it or try to score. It's I think this game will be completely different from the one that we saw in Las Vegas a few nights ago. Hope you want to see the Edmonton Oilers have that passion, desire to keep killing power plays. I think it's come a long way, not to where it was last year. Still has some work to do, but I like the progress. And the power play, it just, on the Oilers side, I've always said it, I like simplicity. And then once, with simplicity and hard work, the skill will eventually take over with that thing, because it's just been so dominant. And the players being on the same team for so long and knowing how everyone reacts, I think they have one of the best when they're really on it. Their puck retrieval on the power play is second to none. And I think just hopefully Bouchard can kind of get that shin pad assassin mentality out of his game, and he doesn't have to do too much, right? It just has to get to the net. Like, he doesn't have to score on every shot, but he has to make sure it doesn't get blocked.
Nat, so you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, we had Brian Hedger on from the Columbus Dispatch. He said Columbus has given up a power play goal in 10 straight, Tom. 10 straight.
Yeah,
the Oilers got to jump on that. And it's fascinating because both power plays are exactly at the same percentage. It's
70 or 17.7%, 11 for 62.
And
Good
their
for 20
PK's
seconds.
almost identical as well. So that's why I'm saying this might be a 5-on-5 game, but if one power play can get going, because like Gager alluded to, the Oilers, if you look at the whole picture, their power play, you look at the numbers, not good. But the last 9 games, they've been really good. They've given up 1 goal, whereas you look at Columbus, they've given up 10 power play goals. A power play goal in 10 straight games.
Yeah. The PK, very, very close as well. Columbus has the edge, if you even want to call it that, at 72.7%, whereas Edmonton's at 72.1%. Columbus 28th. Edmonton 29th. Now, the difference, though, and I kind of want to know what Joaquin thinks of this. The Oilers have 1 shorty. It was Darnell Nurse who scored it a week or 2 ago. Columbus has 4 on the PK. That's second best in the NHL so far this season. Do teams make note of that, Joaquin, or is that just kind of like an afterthought for certain teams, coaches, and their power plays when analyzing the opponent's penalty kill?
Probably in the notes, Tommy, like when you're reviewing the other team, it's noted, especially on the power play. They're alert. It's talked about, but I don't think too much attention is on it, especially with the Oilers power play. They're not worried about. You don't want your power play going out there being worried about getting scored on. Right. That just defeats the whole purpose, right? But in that case, you do want to say, look, these guys have scored some shorthanded goals. Let's make sure that we're strong in our structure, and there is cheating on the power play on the offensive side, right? But depending on the player who you're going up against, you might want to just take a little bit of caution and make sure that you're sound defensively as well on the power play in this case.
All right, it is Game Changers with our game analyst, Joaquin Gage, Oilers and Blue Jackets, closing out the season series. Game Changers brought to you, as always, by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Point number 1 was Hyman returns. Point number 2, special teams not so special. Joaquin, point number 3, battle of the backups. Not surprised to see that on there.
No, and I mean it's I want a really good battle. Selfishly, I want to see a kind of a more of a Game of Thrones battle of the Jon Snow and Ramsay Bolton here. Like, this is look. Calvin Pickard has been really good this year, I think. Like, his numbers are reflecting that, right? He deserves these early starts, I think, and he just has to keep doing what he's doing. I love the fact that, I talked about this earlier, that I think when the season started, I'm sure the coaching staff of the Edmonton Oilers thought that there was a possibility Stuart Skinner would go to the Four Nations face-off. Mm-hmm. And maybe when they looked at the schedule, what they were going to do with the assignment of where you wanted to place Pickard in there, because there might have been the possibility of Stuart Skinner playing some extra games. To me, I thought this was another game that Stuart Skinner should be playing. Just from his previous games and the last two, I think he was starting to get things rolling a little bit, and you want your number one guy feeling it. And I thought this was a good opportunity for him to come into another game and do this. But if you probably talked to Dustin Schwartz, this on the schedule was a scheduled start for Calvin Pickard. I don't have a real big problem with it, because when you take in the big picture and you look at last year and past performances, there was a hiccup from Stuart Skinner in the playoffs last year. So he's getting more rest. But now he's not on that roster. And you know that he's going to have that break during that time. Mm-hmm. I would fully expect to see Stuart Skinner kind of playing the majority of the games going forward here. Obviously, see how things going, but I would probably, if in my cool bet account, I would put the over under on the upper side to how many games Stuart Skinner will now play.
Hernan, anything you want to add to that?
No, I just think, Calvin Pickard's giving them an opportunity every game. Tommy, did he play the first Columbus game? Was it Pickard or Skinner?
I think that was Stu Skinner. I'm going to verify right now.
I think it was Stu Skinner. Someone was asking on the Nasty Chat, so I was just curious to that. But you look at Tarasov's numbers, and they are not good, guys. So this is a team the Oilers got to jump all over. It's not so much, because I remember Kaz saying it's not about pucks on net, but it's about like the quality, the opportunities you're creating. But make them work, man. And they have a stud defenseman in Zach Werenski, who's having a phenomenal season, leading them in scoring. So I think this is leading for the Oilers to win this game. You got a nice presentation for your captain before the game. You got the other team's backup, whose numbers are not as good as Calvin Pickard's. And then, you look at the special team side, like they're there for the taking. Now, Columbus probably saying the same thing.
Of course they are.
But the Oilers on paper, and even if it on ice, they are the better team, and they got to inflict that will and just go get this game. And don't mess around. Don't wait to feel your way into it and see what Columbus is going to bring. You know what kind of effort Columbus is going to bring. They whooped you in the first game.
Yes, they did. 6 goals on 25 shots for Stu Skinner in that game in Columbus on October 28th. And like you mentioned, Hernan, Tarasov, 3-4-1, 404 goals against average, 861 save percentage. He has beaten the Oilers in the lone appearance versus Edmonton. He's played 53 career games, 15, 28, and 5 record, 350 goals against average, 898 save percentage. Wow, I feel like I'm on an episode of EST Afternoons. What the heck's going on here?
Feels good, doesn't it, Tom?
Feels real good. Real good, Joaquin. Gager, thank you so much for filling in for Cass. I know you're going to be on with us for the post-game show and for the next few, so appreciate it, my friend. Looking good as always. And we'll catch up with you on the post-game show.
Awesome. Can't wait, boys.
There you go. There's Joaquin Gage. Yeah, Walk, as you like to call him. Game Changers, as always, brought to you by Damon Bunting. RE/MAX Elite. Damon Bunting, a consistent top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian RE/MAX realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Check him up, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Hyman returns, special teams not so special, and battle of the backups were our talking points with Gager. Hernan, any reaction to the question of the night?
Let's take a look here. Not really, but it says good-looking suit, Tom. Gager, no leather tonight. Troll says Kapanen has been better than Ryan. Too bad he can't play center. That's a good point. That truly
Not
is.
arguing that.
I don't think anyone's too upset Hyman is where he is. And I remember I asked Gager this couple games ago, and I said, would you move Kapanen? And he said no. He was like, no, you keep Kapanen there and let's Hyman slow play his way in. Not maybe slow play, but start him off on a different line. But I like it. Zach Hyman is I mean, he's one of those players that you show videos to your kids. You want to be like this guy. Like, this is the way you play the game. And like I mentioned earlier, Tom, Zach Hyman, he's not having a good offensive season, but it's not for a lack of trying or opportunities. Like I said, it's just been some bad luck, snake bitten, and then he suffered the injury. So hopefully, like I said, this reset, he can take off here.
Yep. Hyman, if you're wondering, just as a refresh, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points through 20 games, even plus minus 12 penalty minutes for the 50-goal man last year. And then if you're looking at the Columbus Blue Jackets, Zach Werenski does lead them in scoring. He's got 8 goals, 18 assists. He's got a plus 11. He's been playing phenomenal, was named to Team USA on the Four Nations Faceoff roster there. And then after Werenski, it's Kirill Marchenko at 24 points, 10 goals, 14 assists. He always seems to find a way to score against Edmonton. He's got a team-leading plus 15.
Wow.
And I did mention number 82. It looks like Pythia, but it's Mikhail Putia. And I remember reading that on the 28th for that game.
I remember you telling us.
Yeah, it's Putia. And I had to go back to the league pronouncing guide. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's got that weird pronunciation. Pyythia, pronounced Putia. Mikhail Putia. So I just wanted to clarify that one and get it right. Because I remember I'm like, I did not say that name right. So he is going to be back in action for the Jackets. Mikhail Putia with Sean Corelli and Kevin LeBanc. Got to get that one etched in my mind. All right, portions of this hour brought to you by Hudson's, Canada's Pub. You are invited to check out any Oilers game day at Hudson's, and they like to do all-day happy hours on Thursdays. Today's all-day happy hour. Also, they have $6 house draft featuring the new Blueberry Blonde Ale. Book your reservation now at hudsonscanadaspub.com, or just come on down. Great spot to check out a game, have a bite to eat, enjoy a few suds, and make some new friends, as we like to do. We were there last week. It was fantastic. Big thank you to Steve, Adam, Colby, Jeff, the entire crew over at Hudson's Bourbon Street. We're going to be there later in the month. Hernan, you want to get to something?
Yeah, C-Dub in Tulsa says, evening, fellas. My opinion, Hyman needs to be back on the top line ASAP. Get him back into a rhythm that matches his ability to produce. Columbus has won 5 of the last 6 games against the Oilers in strong fashion. They need our goal scoring tonight, boys. Yeah. Go Oil. That's C-Dub in Tulsa.
C-Dub's right. Edmonton has a 1-4-1 record against the Jackets in the last 6. All-time Edmonton, 38-19-8 with 3 ties against Columbus. And then at home, the Oilers 24-6-3. So they're dominant at home against the Blue Jackets. No ties in that record. Columbus 3-7-2 this season on the road. Edmonton, meanwhile, 5-6-1 at home. A lot to be desired there. All right, Nan. So what say we get to myself and Steve Mears from earlier in the day? Is it good to go?
It's good to go.
All right, let's go to my conversation with Steve Mears, play-by-play man for the Columbus Blue Jackets, formerly Penguins and NHL Network. Steve gave us the scoop on these Blue Jackets, as well as some of his favorite restaurants here in Edmonton. Here he is. Earlier today at Rogers Place with myself. Time now to get you up to speed on the Oilers and Blue Jackets. Pleased to be joined by Columbus Blue Jackets play-by-play man Steve Mears. Steve, welcome back to Edmonton. I know you guys have been in Alberta for a little bit here, but let's start with what was an emotional night in Calgary. I know the result wasn't good on the ice. That's tough. It was hard watching it while I was doing the pregame show leading into the Oilers Golden Knights, but take us through that night and how things went for the team on the ice as well.
Well, I thought it was very similar to the opening game in Columbus, where it's just so heavy, so unbelievably emotional and powerful. And even for me, I'm up there in the broadcast booth, paid to talk, and it's hard to speak when you see the tribute video. You see Johnny and Matthew's parents, and children and his wife Meredith. It's just really tough to watch. And then all of a sudden they flip on the lights and you play a hockey game, and Sean Monahan and a lot of players have tears in their eyes. And I don't know how they composed themselves and were able to do that. And it was a very competitive game, but they just didn't quite have that extra spark or a little extra juice that they needed, especially on the offensive side of things. So they get blanked by the Calgary Flames. I would expect a much more spirited effort, at least on the hockey side of things, here tonight against Edmonton. They know they got to bring the A game, which they've done for the most part this season. Been a hard-working team, one of the hardest-working teams, I think, in the league. They know they have to bring that brand of hockey tonight against McDavid and Draisaitl and the Oilers.
And they did that certainly in Columbus in late October. We saw that in what was a big win for the Jackets. But I'll ask you this, too. Lately, it's been pretty good for Columbus. I mean, 5 wins in their last 7, 6 of the last 9. Why is it clicking right now for this Jackets team?
Well, a lot of facets. I think one of the biggest ones is the play of Zach Werenski. He's been by far the best player. He's leading the NHL in ice time. One of the top scoring defensemen in the league. He's on his way to the Four Nations Faceoff to play for Team USA. And he has just done everything. Got a Gordie Howe hat trick a couple of games ago. I mean, like, what hasn't he done? He's done everything but sell popcorn. I mean, it's an incredible run for him. The dedication he put in the offseason, and also the fact that the system Dean Evison has brought to the team has been very conducive to his game and just getting involved offensively, not just pinching every once in a while, but jumping up in the offense and staying in the offensive zone. So I just think it's just a perfect mix and a lot of hard work from Zach Werenski. That'd be the first thing. And the other thing is just surprisingly good offense. A lot of different contributors. At last check, I think they were 3rd in the NHL in 5-on-5 goals. The power play's just been okay. Special teams just okay. But at 5-on-5, they have gotten the secondary scoring. They've been able to put up 6 goals at least in a game 7 times, which I never would have thought. I mean, coming into the season, I thought offense, that would be the one thing, because they don't have that great superstar like a McDavid or a McKinnon or a Matthews. And it turns out it's been scoring by committee, and a lot of different players have contributed. And the most pleasant surprise for me has been the 3rd and 4th line scoring, which has been fairly consistent. And, if you can get that, that is a big part of success in the NHL. You don't need 30 goal scorers down there, but you just need some guys to chip in maybe 10 or 15. And a guy like Matthew Olivier is a perfect example.
Right.
One of the toughest in the NHL, and he's got a career-high 7 goals.
I was going to ask you about that. Who are some guys who have emerged? And you talk about 3rd and 4th liners contributing. Are there some guys that are unsung heroes that we should keep an eye on, Olivier included? Yeah,
Olivier absolutely leads the team in game-winning goals, 7 to kick off the season. Previous high was 5, which he had last year and one other season. He's fought all the heavyweights. Every time he hits, you feel it all the way up in the broadcast booth, maybe even in this one, which, of course, might as well be in Fort McMurray because it's so high up. But I love being here.
You're good with your Alberta stuff.
And it is a gorgeous building. I just walking in, it's awesome. But Matthew Olivier has been not only scoring at a career-high pace, fighting, but also a tremendous leader in the dressing room, which is so important in the absence of team captain Boone Jenner, alternate captain Eric Goodbranson. So there was a leadership void there, and Matthew Olivier has been vocal in the room and has filled that void. Zach Aston-Reese has been a nice pickup, claimed off waivers from the Vegas Golden Knights. When all those injuries happened, Don Waddell, the GM, had to be proactive, so he signed Kevin LeBanc, who had been in training camp with the New Jersey Devils, and he picked up Zach Aston-Reese off waivers, and those have been some players that have really been solid in the bottom 6.
Okay, in goal, we're going to see Calvin Pickard for the Oilers. I thought I saw Tarasov coming off. What are we expecting from him? What's his game? What's his MO?
Been a while for Danil Tarasov, first game since November 16th against Montreal, and for a while there, it was a struggle for him, and I got to think it's hard when at best you're playing once a week and you're a relatively young goaltender. Like, there are some veteran guys we know in the league that can absolutely do that and do it brilliantly. As a younger netminder who's played, I think, under 70 games in the NHL, it's got to be difficult. And now this is an extended stretch. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch the first 5 minutes to see how his game is, and I think the team is going to have to protect him because first game since November 16th, that can't be easy for anybody, and I think that's going to be part of the narrative here tonight. And the Oilers always seem to come out flying here. I know it's been a while since they've had a home game, but I think weathering that storm, like they always talked about. I used to come in here with Pittsburgh, and there was a lot of hype with the Penguins and Sid and McDavid, and it was like, weather this first 10 minutes, and if you can survive the first 10 minutes, then you might be okay. But I think it'll be important for the Blue Jackets to get back to the brand of hockey that produced the 6-game point streak and that we really didn't see the other night in Calgary. They have much better to bring, and hopefully for our side, they'll bring it here tonight against the Oil.
Well, as long as it makes for exciting hockey.
Yeah.
Speaking of exciting hockey, you brought it up really briefly. Talked about Werenski being named to Team USA. This Four Nations Faceoff, I'm personally having a tough time getting into it. I saw the reveal for Canada and the U.S. yesterday, obviously Sweden and Finland as well. What's your take on what we're going to see in this Four Nations Faceoff? I'd rather see a World Cup, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, but it's obviously a prelude to the Olympics, and the circumstances are right now. They've got the top 4 teams in hockey in the 4 countries, and they load up. I think when you look at the rosters, though, and it's been so long since we've seen any type of best on best, I'll take whatever. So right. I'm happy to see it. I will definitely be watching. You look at the rosters with Canada and U.S. in particular, just absolutely loaded. How about the players who didn't make it?
I know.
I mean, it's amazing. Team USA, Tage Thompson, Clayton Keller, right. John Carlson, they don't make it. And I don't think Zach Werenski coming into the season was like a no-doubt selection for a lot of people, especially outside of Columbus. But he has earned it with the way that he's played. He's been one of the best players in the NHL this season. So he earned the chance to play for Team USA, which he's done before in World Championships and in World Juniors. I used to cover him with the World Juniors, a couple of them, 2015 and 2016. Yep. So known him for a long time, and always was great. Former captain with Team USA at the World Juniors. So, I'm amazed, and it's always fun for us because we get to debate, like, well, why isn't this guy on? Like, how could they select this one? And we always say it's not an all-star team.
True.
You have to have grit. You got to have penalty killers. You got to have some veteran presence in there and some leadership and fill the different roles. I would have had Tom Wilson for me. That's one guy I would have had Tom Wilson, but
Shifley
I think
for me, for Canada.
Team Canada, they have plenty of grit. I mean, they have Hagel, right? They got Mark Stone, so they got a good amount of grit. Yep. We could have this discussion. This is like a 6-hour documentary if we talk about like the players that got left off. And you're telling me Tage Thompson can't make Team USA, right. Clayton Keller, but it speaks to the strength of both hockey nations, Canada and the United States, that they could field a second team that would be very competitive.
I've got U.S. as the favorite. All right, finally, Steve Mears, Edmonton restaurant recommendation. Go.
Had the best dinner I think I've ever had in Edmonton last night at Range Road. Yes. Range Road was phenomenal, and I love the farm-to-table places. Gotta love the Alberta beef. I had bison last night. And the place, everyone was so unbelievably kind. They showed me around. I do the food tour on Instagram, so I try to pick one restaurant in every city in the NHL. Yep. And this was my spot. Very highly acclaimed restaurant, apparently one of the best in all of Canada. So I see why. Everything was phenomenal, and I will be back Range Road here in Edmonton. That is my favorite place to this point.
You just made a lot of Edmonton fans right now. Steve Mears, one of the best in the NHL right here. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks a lot. Good to see you again.
I don't know, like a month and a half ago. Very good spot. Delicious.
I got to go there, man. I drive by it every day on the way home, Tommy. And I've looked at the menu, and I got to go. I definitely got to check it.
Very good.
Mears looks like a good dude, man.
He's awesome. Great guy. Was doing Penguins play-by-play and is now the Columbus Blue Jackets guy. Was on NHL. I did stuff with him on NHL Network.
Some MLB. Did he do MLB?
I think. Yeah. Well, MLB Network and NHL Network. I don't know. We don't have NHL Network here in Canada. I still do stuff for them every now and then, but they're in the same building. They're the same company, and so they split like the talent. So he would have done a little bit of crossover for sure. I think he even called some games, if I'm not mistaken. So just a good dude. Loves his restaurant. Bit of a foodie, and went to Range Road. I liked Range Road when I went there, so good choice. And it always helps, too, when you either get per diem or you can expense those meals because they're not cheap.
I was going to say, that's probably why I haven't gone yet, but I got to make it out there one day because I've heard from like now 3-4, and including now Mears, how good it is. So looking forward to one day hitting it up.
Do it. You and Angelica, or maybe you and Joaquin could go. Joaquin, and I could sit by the bar and watch you two in jealousy.
Why would you sit by the bar?
I'm teasing. I don't know. It's a really good spot, though.
I don't want to interrupt. It's like that Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode when the two buddies are eating at one table and DeVito and Charlie are
Oh
at the
yeah,
other one and they can't
yeah.
talk to each other?
Didn't they send over some wine? Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're just staring at each other the whole time. It was
And
pretty good.
DeVito's got a wig on. That's his going out wig. That show is too good. Too good.
Oh,
Great show.
man. Yeah.
All right, let's get to some text. Troll texting in says it's not the best hockey. It's the second best team that wasn't even invited in regard to the Four Nations Faceoff. Russia is not the second best team. Czechia is not the second best team. Slovakia is not the second best team. Germany's not the second best team. Who am I forgetting? Switzerland's not the second best team. The two best teams are Canada and the U.S. Straight up.
It's
Straight up.
And it's
Simple
just
as that.
enjoy it, everybody. Like, it's gonna be fun. It's just something to pass the time before the NHL resumes, and you get to see Connor McDavid with Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon. Tom, I guess I'll ask you if we can go away from the Oilers for a quick sec. Watching the announcement yesterday, I was watching the panel on TSN, Mike Johnson, all the boys, and I'm kind of with them. They all said on paper the U.S. is the best team. Do you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
I said it when I was talking to Steve. They are the favorite. They have everything. And I don't know if management of any of the four teams or have overthought this process. And I don't know what the best recipe is. I would assume it's just bring the best players in and let them find roles. And I've heard people speak against that in the last couple of days, but I recall in 2010, 2014 at the World Cup, and 2016, that strategy worked for Canada. And a lot of those guys are gone now.
Yeah.
There's a few holdovers, Crosby, Marchand, I believe. Doughty, if he was not hurt, he'd be playing, but they found a way. I think it was Joaquin on the morning show actually saying that he really liked, or maybe it was on the Red Light District, really liked Jonathan Taves. I thought his game was right up there with some of the best in the world. And I agree. That was a great point and a good reminder about Jonathan Taves and how dominant he was at that time. So I we'll see. I mean, time will tell in February, but I do agree that the U.S. has the best team on paper, and I think they are the favorite going in, and they should be.
And they left some quality players off the team, even more than Canada. Like, you look at Canada, Seth Jarvis, I know a lot of people are questioning that. You get why they brought guys like Sam Bennett and Cirelli and Hagel. But for me, a guy like Mark Scheifele, man, it's crazy to me that he didn't make this team. I
agree.
And there is bias. Like, you look at the coach, you look at the general manager, some guys that made it. Like, you can't tell me Brandon Hagel and Cirelli are better players than Mark Scheifele. They're not. And I know you got to pick role players for these kind of all-star teams, but come on, Scheifele can kill penalties. Scheifele can play center, even if it's on your fourth line, because in these tournaments, you don't have line 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're all line ones. They all are.
Well said. I agree wholeheartedly. We'll see how it goes. Okay. This is one of 9 games on the schedule tonight. The Oilers and Blue Jackets. Edmonton looking to get back into the win column. So too is Columbus. Both teams shut out in their respective games on Tuesday. Columbus 3-0 in Calgary and Edmonton 1-0 in Vegas. Other scores to pass along your way really quickly. Buffalo leading Winnipeg. We're talking about Mark Scheifele just now. 3-2, 2 minutes left in the second period. Montreal up 1-0 on Nashville at the Bell Center after 2. Ottawa up 1-0 over Detroit after 2. The Blue Jackets absolutely shred the San Jose Sharks. Pardon me, the Lightning absolutely shred the San Jose Sharks 7-0. 4-4 Philly and Florida after 2. Carolina leads Colorado 3-1 after 2. And midway through the second period, Seattle up 3-0 on the Islanders on Long Island, I should say. St. Louis gets Calgary at the Saddle Dome. The Oilers and the Jackets get going in about 17 minutes time. We will have that Connor McDavid gold stick Tiffany crystal celebration and ceremony coming up as well. Are you giggling over there?
Yeah, it's just because
you love that
the Tiffany crystal thing. That's
I don't know what it
that's
is.
going straight to Miss McDavid. You know that.
Yeah, it's going somewhere on the mantle, or maybe make it a paperweight. I don't know. But Jasmine was really excited to talk about it on the Hangout today. I saw that.
Yes.
All right,
You weren't here today, though, right? No. So
no, I wasn't.
The
I was
studio's done up nice. Maddie set up a bunch of things for tomorrow. It's really festive in here, Tom. It's
good. I like
it. It's great.
It looks fantastic. It really does. All right, we have a couple more minutes now. So before we get to final thoughts, I will highly encourage everyone to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about EST. The subscription thing, we got to 10.6. That's great. Let's keep those subscriptions going. If you haven't already subscribed, do it. All it does is put our live videos at the top of your YouTube channel, and you'll know that we're on the air and which show happens to be on our station and live. And it doesn't hurt. We appreciate anybody who subscribes, likes, and shares, all that good stuff. If you're listening on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, maybe Apple Music, Maddie was saying he's not sure if we're still on there or what's going on with that, but EdmontonSportsTalk.com's audio player. Get into the text line if you want to slide one in late, 780-218-9999. Let's get 2 lines and then some final thoughts and then maybe a text or two if we have them coming in, because I think we read a bunch of them, and then nasty chat I haven't had a chance to look at. So for the Oilers tonight, you got McDavid between Nugent-Hopkins and Hyman, who makes his return after missing the last 5 with an injury. Draisaitl with Podkolzin and Kapanen. Henrique between Janmark and Skinner. Derek Ryan with Corey Perry and Connor Brown. Perry on the left, Brown on the right. Ekholm paired up with Bouchard. Nurse with Stature. Kulak with Emerson. No Travis Dermott for the Oil. As for the Columbus Blue Jackets, it will be Sean Monahan with Dmitry Voronkov and Kirill Marchenko on his flanks. Adam Fantilli between Cole Sillinger and Kent Johnson. Justin Danforth with Zach Aston Reese and Matthew Olivier on his line. And then Sean Corrali with Mikhail Putia and Kevin LeBanc. You like that one, Hernan. On defense for the Jackets, Werenski with Fabro, Provorov with Severson, Christensen with Harris in goal. Calvin Pickard gets the start for the Oil. And we will see Daniel Tarasov go between the pipes for the Blue Jackets, the 25-year-old going up against the 32-year-old Pickard. All right, Natso, some final thoughts.
Yeah, I want to see the same effort they've shown in the Denver game, the Vegas game. I thought they really came out. We were some of us were a little concerned about that Vegas game, but they were good. They were good throughout that game. I want to see the same thing. But I am concerned about, first game off a road trip and all that stuff. So the Oilers should jump all over this team. They are the better team. Now, Columbus has had a really good record in the last 6. They've taken 5 of those games, whooped them already in October. Yep. So it's not going to be an easy night, but, the Oilers should win this game. And I want to see another complete effort here and hopefully find the net and get the Zach Hyman bump, Tom. So I'm expecting a high-scoring game, but I do think the Oilers will get the dub when it's all said and done.
Edmonton looking to improve that 5-6-1 home record. Hasn't been smooth sailing at Rogers Place so far this season. However, they get the Blue Jackets, who are 3-7-2 on the road. Will the Edmonton domination here in our fair city continue? We shall see. The Oilers have absolutely owned the Blue Jackets in Edmonton. A 24-6-3 mark all time is the Oilers record versus Columbus ever since the Jackets came into the league in 2001. But like Hernan mentioned, Edmonton 1 win in its last 6 games versus the Blue Jackets. Let's see if they can get one into the win column tonight as they celebrate Connor McDavid's 1,000 points that he picked up a little while ago, and then also Zach Hyman making his return. We'll see how it goes. A big thank you to Steve Mears for joining me earlier in the day and providing some insight into the Columbus Blue Jackets. A big thank you to everybody who watched and listened. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. If you listened on the radio side of things, we appreciate you. We'll be back for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show for Joaquin Gage and Hernan Salas. I'm Tom Gazzola saying enjoy the game. Ciao for now.